Hello, everyone. Welcome to Relationships with Food, the podcast where we discuss everything to do with food and eating disorders, relationships with food, as the title says. My name is Vasiliki Papadopoulou, and I'm a second-year student at Glasgow Caledonian University studying human nutrition and dietetics. Here in Relationships with Food, we have a guest in every episode sharing their story, trying to raise awareness about all these very important issues around food. And today we have with us Miss Danae Papadopoulou. Welcome.
Hello.
I'm actually really excited because Danae is my cousin. We're going to have like family session
Indeed.
today. Danae has degrees in psychology, mental health, and recently graduated from her master's in drama therapy. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Today you're going to talk to us about your journey with your relationship with food, which started when you became vegan. If I'm not mistaken. No, long before.
Our relationship with food starts when we start eating food, I think.
Yeah.
Or even before that. But problems became more concrete when I changed my diet, yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I just remembered that I forgot our disclaimers for the episode. We are here to just discuss and bring awareness. Please don't use any information to diagnose or treat any conditions. And also, if you are suffering or not suffering, I don't like this word. If you have an eating disorder or any other related problem, and you think this conversation might be triggering for you, please feel free to skip it for today. We won't mind. We promise. So yeah, sorry for the interruption. Then I just, continue, please.
No problem at all. I was just thinking that it can be really helpful listening to people talking about things that you identify with, but it can also be really triggering. And specifically when it comes to eating disorders, I have personally found, both through observation, but also through my personal experience, that there's often like a modeling behavior as well. Like you hear other people's stories, and when you're going through eating difficulties yourself, you sometimes like copy their maladaptive mechanisms through, like, does this make sense?
Yeah.
Like listening to other people's stories instead of helping actually makes it worse, because you learn more mechanisms to like restrict your diet or kind of compare yourself.
That's actually something that I've been worrying about in terms of making this podcast, because what I want to do is, as I said from my previous podcast when I was talking about my personal experience, I realized that there was something wrong when I watched someone else online sharing their experience. But also it can go around the way you mentioned, that hearing someone's journey, if you're not in a very good place, can actually make it worse. We hope to give the tools or the awareness to hopefully make things better.
I think it's just important to mention, because you never know how you personally will react, or the other people will react. And it's important to be transparent about how it can go both ways, or in different ways for each person. And so that the people listening can have like can have a check with themselves, and like maybe just have some self-awareness, help them have some self-awareness, and be like, yeah, you know what, I don't need this right now, or this is absolutely what I need, this is exactly what I need. So okay, I'm going to turn this into a point about my personal experience, because I realize this is about me, and I also told you beforehand that I don't want to talk about other people. So what I'm mainly like what I mainly have in mind is that when the main issues with food restriction started for me, so I've always had like body image concerns and a maladaptive, say, dysfunctional. My dad is going to knock on my window.
We're definitely going to keep this in the podcast to show the family dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, this during the first lockdown, that was like my everyday life. Anyway, which is important. Everything is important. That's why, like, it's very hard to set boundaries on this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I was actually writing a paper on anorexia nervosa for my developmental psychology class, and it is like it wasn't like brand new information for me, but I would read like case examples for my paper, and I remember reading about a case of a girl who was doing like gymnastics ever since she was like a really small young girl, and she was mentioning that their coach every day before practice would make them so like put them in pairs and would make them, I think I've told you this before, count each other's ribs. So
sorry, I didn't hear you there. Do you say?
So they put them in pairs and they would make them count each other's ribs. So
right, yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
If like the other person couldn't count your ribs, it meant you were overweight for gymnastics, and you needed to lose weight, and you would be like kind of shamed or whatever. And I remember like reading that and having like such hate for that coach and like very strong feelings, but at the same time I was like, can I count my ribs? Like, and then I like touching my bones and being able to feel my bones very distinctly became an everyday thing for me. So I remember like doing yoga, and during the savasana, like the end when you just lie down, you're supposed to have like your arms relaxed next to you. I had them on my bones, like my waist bones, and it made me so like happy that they were so distinct. And now that I've gained weight again, it kind of like makes me sad that I cannot touch them so easily, like I cannot feel them so easily. So that was an example in terms of like how other people's examples and experiences can trigger things without you even realizing, or expect can become habits or bad habits or behaviors that turn out to be maladaptive, even if the point of the story was like a positive one or an educational one.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to the part with you feeling happy about being able to touch your bones. And I remember when I was in a similar situation, it kind of made me happy that I was that my bones were so visible. I knew that maybe something is not completely right, but I thought I just pushed it away. That, oh, this makes me happy. And of course, when I started gaining weight, even if I was in the normal range, I would still feel sad about it or upset. Suddenly, you have seen yourself in this very thin, very small version, and you start gaining a little bit weight, and everything is collapsing. Everything is you're just so worried about it, and yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. And to be honest, in my experience, like when I was underweight, say, I don't think from some point on, my concern wasn't to lose more weight, but I was terrified of gaining weight. So it wasn't that I wanted to be thinner. It was actually the first time in my life ever that I was happy with my body, and that was when I was underweight. But I was terrified of gaining weight, and because obviously your organism doesn't work as well as it would if you were healthy, I would get bloated all the time, or my gastrointestinal system wasn't working properly. So I would notice changes in my body constantly throughout the day within like hours. And I remembered affecting my mood immensely. And it still does, to be honest, but not to that point, because I'm not as observant. One. Second of all, it's not that noticeable, because if you have belly fat, it's harder to distinguish between like being a little bloated or more bloated, or yeah. And point is, I remember that my fear was that I would gain weight again, not I didn't want to be thinner. I just didn't eat because I didn't want to gain weight.
And it's so interesting how we both grew up in the 90s, noughties, is it that we say? Yeah. Like in the 90s and 2000s, where it was the beauty standards were like these very skinny models that basically anorexic, like all the bones were visible, and these were our beauty ideals, standards, yes. And it was back then when the low-rise jeans were very popular, which are now coming back, and I'm really upset about it.
Terrifying.
Please, people, don't do this. We worked so hard on removing this piece of clothing from fashion. Don't bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, who didn't I don't know if it's a common thing, but I was obsessed with Britney Spears' waist.
And I remember that image of Britney back then. Yeah.
The Oops, I Did It Again cover, album cover, that she's wearing a very little clothing actually, and you can I remember looking at it and being this is my dream, this is what I want to become. And even when I was underweight, I wasn't that, my body is not made like that. And that's also a struggle, something that I think I personally struggle with, but I think it's it's kind of like a rule of thumb, that the hardest part is to accept that you're not you'll never be like this. This is not what your body should look like. This person might be their bone structure is like that, their anatomy is like that. Yes, they're lucky or not lucky, it doesn't matter, but my body, no matter what I do, will never be like that. I still haven't come to terms with that. So when I had lost a lot of weight, my goal was to maintain it, but from some point on, I realized that this is creating other problems to my organism, and I ended up not having a period for a year. And I saw my gynecologist first, who said, this is no longer polycystic ovaries syndrome thing, because I have POS. Yes, it's a hypothalamic amenorrhea.
Amenorrhea, yeah.
Means your brain is not sending the signal to your ovaries to release, because you either you have a lot of anxiety or you don't have enough fat.
Yeah.
I thought, well, both. Um, and then I saw an endocrinologist, and she told me, yeah, it is obvious that you don't have enough fat. You'll need to take up like a diet that has a lot of fats anyway, but like good fats, because I also have cholesterol. So being a vegan, that meant a lot of olive oil and a lot of avocado, which is a nice thing. But anyway, I forgot my point. My point was that I went to a dietitian, and she gave me a diet which was over, like, to gain weight. Terrifying. And then as soon as she gave it to me, like the day after, I realized I have no problem gaining weight. Like, it's not that I would struggle. If my goal was to gain weight, I would struggle to find a way to gain weight. Maybe I would struggle to find a healthy way as a vegan to gain weight. So when I went to the dietitian, she like did some assessments and measurements, and she told me that my body fat at the time, keep in mind I had already gained some weight, was something like 8 or 9%.
Yeah. Okay.
And what they told
I know.
me,
Yeah.
both the endocrinologist and the dietitian, is that for you to have, in order for any woman to have a period, they need to have at least 12% body fat. So the goal was to gain what, like 3%. That's nothing. But that was the moment when I realized, for my body to be healthy and have enough estrogen, I cannot have a flat belly. Like, that's impossible. I need, because that's the first
place that you lose fat or you gain fat.
Yeah, exactly. So if I am to gain any weight from this point on, it will first go to my belly. So it's impossible for me to have a flat belly. And that's something I've been trying to come to terms with since. It's been, what, 1.5 years? I still can't accept that I will have a little belly fat my entire life.
It is a difficult realization and something to accept when you've been trained by your the beauty standards as growing up, to when you're trained to think that a flat stomach is the ideal version of a body, and suddenly you realize, for me, it's never going to work. And I can understand why this is difficult, and how everyone, it's interesting how, I'm sorry, I'm leaning like towards another issue there, but it's interesting how, I don't know if you've seen this photo on Instagram where there are maybe 3 or 4 different women that have different body types, and each and every one of them think, oh, I wish I had her body, and the second woman thinks exactly the same about the previous one. So everyone is kind of has a different ideal of what an ideal body would be. And yeah, so how did that medical diagnosis affected you in terms of the change of your behavior? Because it's no longer something that has to do with how your body looks, it's how your body functions. And
yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly, like, I think it became an issue of taking care of myself, of like something that is more crucial than how I look is like being functional. So rationally, it became like a more, I had to focus on a more healthy, say, attitude, and that changed my behavior. But I think also, I don't want to say rationally, but like emotionally, in a way, it gave me permission to eat. again.
Mhm.
So it, like, I didn't need anyone's permission. You realize that this is all happening in my head, but it allowed me to permit myself to start eating again. And then, like, if you ask me now, I'm still not healthy. I still don't have like a positive body image. I still struggle with my relationship with food. I went to the opposite. So I think I just like completely let go and would eat like 6 meals per day instead of 5. And I like ended up hating myself.
Oh, that's
So
this guilt was the worst part of it.
that's the thing that, like, because, and that's, I think that's something that's important to mention, that because you look healthier doesn't mean you are healthier mentally. So society tends to focus on like visual
Yeah, this is so
signs.
important. Yeah.
And I've noticed this in the people around me ever since my body weight is in the average range, say. No one ever mentions it. Like, okay, of course you'll get the occasional comment on like either positive or negative, like you've lost weight, you've gained weight, oh, you look so nice, you look nicer now that you're chubbier, or stuff like that.
Ooh.
Which whew,
Yeah.
but no one has asked me if I'm okay, like
Mm-hmm.
how if this is a mental health issue. They just assume that since my body weight is average, I'm okay.
This is so important, and we actually have talked about this before, and we're both really like passionate about and have very strong feelings about. And there is something that we learn in one of my modules at uni that talks about what it is to be metabolically healthy. Because you might be overweight in the BMI scale, but metabolically you are healthy. So there is this concept of that I think unofficially they call it skinny fat.
I don't know what that is.
So it is someone that has a very thin looking body, but metabolically the fat percentage is much higher than it should be for their body, which this is not healthy either, and they look thin. So many people have associated the thinness with health, and this is just not the case. And there is another thing that you mentioned there about commenting on people's bodies, either positively or negatively, either about weight loss or about weight gain. And yeah, I don't know where to start in terms of that, because we're both again very have very strong feelings about it. Tell us why you think that that's not okay to comment.
Well, okay, primarily I feel like that's not what we should be focusing on. Again, I am focusing on my body image and I am focusing on appearance, so I'm not one to judge, but
Nobody's perfect.
but ideally I feel like society shouldn't be focusing on appearance. So
Exactly, yeah.
whether it is for a positive comment or a negative comment, I I feel like maybe we should be more like spirit oriented, or intellect oriented, or I don't know, like if you want to say something nice, try to make it not about my appearance. I know this is very, very hard, because even like me, when I like when people tell me I look nice, but what does that mean? What's the extension of that? Is it that I look nice today because I have lost some weight, or I have gained some weight, or I've done my hair like this, or I'm wearing something that complements my body, what is it that makes me look nice? Thank you. But for someone that has concerns about their image, that it would just like spark concerns that you wouldn't even imagine. And I remember like trying to advocate for this very, very long ago to my parents to begin with, that like the moment I lost some weight, they were like, oh, you look nice, like keep it up, keep the good work up. Like, you don't understand what you're doing to me with by saying this. I mean, I know you're saying it
from a good place,
it's coming from a good place and you want me to be healthy, but for me this means you look better thinner, so the thinner you are, the better.
and it also in a way, what's the word, encourages you to continue having this unhealthy relationship with food and with your body.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And also, I remember like when I did lose a lot of weight and I was underweight, I remember people telling me, okay, I was worried about the people that already knew me before. So to clarify, I lost most of the weight during the first lockdown, which meant the only people who were actually experiencing my transition were my parents, who, okay, they did notice from some point on, but because they saw me every day, didn't really weren't able
the
to
change
tell
is not
the
that
difference.
extreme. Yeah.
But then I was worried when I go back out in the world and my friends would see me. I remember like when I first went to meet a group of friends, I was very aware of how my body had changed. So I wore like the baggiest thing I could find, because I was worried that they would notice and they would make me start eating again, through, not like they wouldn't force feed me, but like through their comments they would be worried about me, and that would mean that I had to become very aware of it, and kind of like, because other people would know, then I would have to do something about it. Like, it's an unhealthy behavior is okay as long as other people don't know, in a way, you know what I mean? It's very it's a very maladaptive way of thinking, but it is kind of sometimes how our brain works when we live within societies. But then I also remember getting a lot of approval from people, both new people like that I met while underweight, or people that already knew me and saw me after a long time, and they were like, "Oh, you look amazing," you know. They didn't realize that something wasn't well. They just thought, might as well compliment her because she fits my standards better now. So, and I also saw like admiration in some people, like, oh, like, wow, you managed to do that. Wow, congrats, you know. Maybe not in those words. And again, like, these were the same people that would express some sort of worry first. So they would be like, are you okay? And of course, I knew very well how to hide the whole emotional, psychological problem aspect of it. And I'd be like, yeah, actually, I quit alcohol and I became vegan. So I just happened to lose weight. I didn't make any effort. No. So after I convinced them that I'm okay emotionally, they would be like, oh, nice. You look amazing.
You look great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how I've heard, and we also we did look on the vegan diet in my university, and it's a very healthy diet. And yeah, okay, you might need to supplement a few things, but generally the studies show that the benefits are great. And there is also the environmental issues, but it is also sometimes very easily to hide um, an unhealthy eating behavior behind the excuse that I'm vegan now. So people won't worry about it. So they would be like, oh, okay, that's because of the veganism. But actually the reason is emotional or psychological. And and then we go to other problems such as orthorexia and other difficulties. But I forgot what I wanted to ask you there. Oh, yeah, right. So thank you for sharing that, because many people think that when we talk about when we say it's not okay to comment on people's bodies, they think that we talk only about weight gain. That saying that, oh, you gain weight, what happened, man, girl? And I mean, obviously this is not okay either, but understanding why you shouldn't comment on weight loss either is also very important. You don't know what's going on for the other person. You don't know what you might be encouraging. And it is difficult. We understand that. Not every person is like conscious and aware in terms of that. And I think we're trying to raise awareness, and we're getting there. But there is a lot of work to be done. And
I think the important thing to focus on is that you never know what you're encouraging.
Yeah. You don't know what's going on for the other person.
Exactly. Unless you are really close and the other person has discussed that with you and have asked for your opinion, try not to.
Yeah. And I actually I have a story from a friend of mine who gave me permission to share. She told me that one day she went at work and she saw a coworker that hadn't seen her for a while. And because she had gained some weight during the time they hadn't seen each other, the first thing that he said to her when he saw her was, "You gained weight, what happened?" And that was a complete shock for her, because obviously, why would this be the first thing you comment about?
So 2 things. First off, do you think I do not know? Like,
That's exactly what she said to him. Yeah. Like, do they think that there is no mirror in the house?
Exactly. I have mirrors. I have scales, whatever. I notice myself more than you do. Thank you very much. But second, I forgot my second point. I was thinking, I don't know if that was my second point, but that's another thought I had. That some people will tell you, no, like I'm saying, I'm not, like, it's not a bad thing. I like you better this way. Or, men like curves, or whatever. I genuinely don't care. Like, I'm not doing this, or I'm not struggling because I want to look nice for you. I am struggling because I'm having a hard time accepting myself according to my own standards. People very often don't realize that, and they will tell you, like, according to say, like, common standards or the media right now, or what's fashionable right now, you look like that, would compare you. And I've had that a lot, like people telling me that, oh, like, you look better now because you have boobs. You look better now because you have a booty. I don't care. Genuinely. And that's, I think, I was thinking that before, that maybe it's important to mention before I came into the call, that it is, of course, it has to do with how other people perceive me, but that's secondary. And I've come to realize that because my body image concern has affects the way I behave when I'm on my own. Like I've had times when I didn't want to get in the shower because I didn't want to experience my body naked.
Mm-hmm.
And that has nothing to do with anyone else. It's just,
Yeah, it's
I didn't
everything.
want to see myself in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or it's not that like I won't wear a crop top because I don't want other people to see how my body looks exposed. I don't want myself to see that. Yeah, just a point, making a point about how it's more personal than people realize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not always about if people, are okay with your new self. It's more, and this is very ironic what I'm saying, but it's more about how you perceive yourself and how you feel in your skin, basically.
Exactly.
Two questions. I myself am struggling with that sometimes, and I don't know if you have any pearls of wisdom. But let's say someone is listening or watching now and are thinking, oh, I've probably said a few things to someone like that, like, oh, you've gained weight, or you've lost weight, or you look good, or you don't look as good. How, if you see a friend or a colleague or someone you care about that has changed in terms of body weight, and you're genuinely concerned about them, it's not about you wanting to comment or just, express your approval or disapproval, but you're actually concerned. How can you do this?
That's a very good question. I don't have any pearls of wisdom. The way I have gone about that in the past is I kind of wait until they mention it, because they will.
Yeah.
Like if it can, so if your relationship is close enough that puts you in a place to comment or be concerned about anything like as such, then that means that they feel comfortable sharing their concerns with you. And if they do feel comfortable, and if they have body image concerns, at some point they will mention it to you, and then you can explore through maybe questions or saying what you've noticed. So say someone brings up that I have lost weight, did you notice? Or I don't know, you can confirm like a fact that, yeah, I can see you have lost weight, without any connotation, like without any associations as to whether that is good or bad. So I think when someone asks for your opinion, not your opinion, your even your
Input or
yeah, it's
connection to
okay.
the subject.
It's okay to talk about it. Like we want to talk about these things, and we want each other to feel comfortable to open up about concerns. So it's not like a taboo issue that we need to like avoid whatsoever. But trying to be aware of our own opinions and our own assumptions and associations. So unless the other person experiences that as a problem, it doesn't matter whether you think it's a problem or not. And of course, I know, like, as we already discussed about myself and yourself, there's some denial that will be involved. And there will be like strategies to avoid facing issues that are purely psychological, but I promise you, me or you or like a friend or a family member is not responsible for forcing anyone to face their denial.
Yeah.
If the other person is in denial, you're not gonna change that through a comment or a conversation or in by expressing your opinion. You can be there for them. You can express the fact that you are there for them. That's important. Yeah, I don't, I don't, I don't think there's anything more than that we can do, just as like friends or.
Yeah, and many times when you feel that the other person has given you space, you are actually more comfortable sharing your experience, and which might actually be the catalyst for you to, or for anyone to move to recovery or to addressing those unhealthy patterns, isn't it? Yeah, so important.
I think so. Yeah, space. That's the right word.
Because as you said before, from your experience, you were very conscious on what people will think about it, what people will think about my change. So I need to cover it up, because if they see, they will try and change it or address it or in some way pressure me in
place judgment on it.
Yeah.
That's the judgment, I think, is the the word, the thing to avoid.
Yeah. And sometimes we're not aware that with one comment, someone else will take it as judgment. Yeah. How can we give a compliment to someone without focusing on how they look? Because I think we've talked about this, and it is quite difficult. And I remember I wanted to give a compliment to someone that I knew that were struggling. And when I thought of saying something that was body size related, but then immediately I stopped myself because we had talked about this for so long and we were both very aware. And I remember our conversations. And I immediately changed what I wanted to say. And I said something like, these trousers look very nice. Or these trousers are nice. Or where do you get them? Or something like that. Something on the clothes, which I'm not sure if, is that okay? In my head it was better.
I'm no expert, but
yeah, I know. Like it's, you know what, we're talking about like our experience and our
no, like, I think, yeah. So I mean, I honestly, like, it's hard for me too. I said already, like, I would ideally, I would like people to focus more on more internal, say, things, inner processes. But again, like, it's not, you're not gonna, it becomes a philosophical issue when you start talking about like, whether you would tell someone you're very smart. No, because what does smart mean, and what is intelligence, and when do I, again, like, there's not much difference between commenting or placing your judgment on something that is not appearance, but it is a characteristic. I don't know. I think the ideal thing to say is how the other person makes you feel. So
this is so nice. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a compliment or what it is. Oh, I kicked my bin. But like, I'm so happy you're here, or you made my day, or I love you. Like, make it personal. Make it about you, because that's the only way that we are not placing judgment on other people, is when we talk about our personal experiences of them. Does this make sense?
Yes,
I've
it
never
does.
thought
And
about
I
it
really
before. It
like
just
this
came up.
idea of, rather than saying something like a compliment, saying that, oh, I'm just really glad you're here. And
Yeah,
such a lovely, like for me, I would be thrilled to hear someone saying that. Like I would be even more happy than hearing a compliment about how I look. So yeah, thank you for that. That was nice.
Yeah, I mean, in terms, even like things like you turn me on is different than you're sexy.
Yes.
You see what I mean? Or you make me laugh is different than you're funny. It's not about you, it's about my experience of you. Wow, I like this idea.
Yeah, isn't it great? Like we have never, I had never realized that. I had never thought of that. And that's great. Yeah. Such a lovely thing. I will be more aware now that we talked
I'm going to try it too. I'm going to try it. Because I feel like I have been trying so much not to comment on other people's appearance, but I find it hard in not doing that to give love, to offer something positive.
Yeah, because sometimes you just want to give something nice to the other person, and because you genuinely feel it, not because you want to pass judgment.
Yeah, and because the people around you need it as well. Like I need some approval from the people close to me, and I again, as I said, I love when people tell me I look nice, but that comes with burden, while the other person's experience might mean a lot to me, but it's their experience, it's personal, it's not necessarily about it. It's not like it doesn't characterize me. It's not like a judgment value.
Yeah so important. I think we need to like finish up or to wrap it up, actually. That's a better word. And I want to try and ask a few like short answer questions to all the guests. And one of them is, what just one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self? And it doesn't have to be on your younger self, just something that you have learned that you think that might benefit someone that is listening.
Yeah, I gave it some thought. I feel like it makes me feel weird, this question, because in terms of, okay, there's a lot of things in life, but in terms of body image and eating concerns and stuff like that, it kind of makes me feel like I haven't learned anything, because I would tell my younger self the same thing that I would tell my present self. That is, try not to care about looks so much. And I read something on Instagram very recently, like maybe yesterday or something, about how, oh, you said it was going to be a quick question.
Oh no, but no, please go on.
About like how many experiences we might have missed out on because of our body image concern. And it's so frustrating realizing that, like, I wouldn't I'm not gonna go for a drink with my friends because alcohol has calories. Okay, this is me talking about alcohol, but anyway. It was just an example that came to mind.
That's fine. Yeah, valid example.
Yeah, so instead of living life and going out for a drink with my friends, I prioritize my calorie restriction and prefer to stay at home so that I don't gain the extra weight.
Oof, I got the chills when you said that. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, so it sounds stupid when you say it out loud.
Yeah, but it's such a powerful realization, isn't it?
And it kind of shows you that what we said before, that it's not about other people, it's about yourself. Like, you're hiding yourself from the world so that you don't ruin your body image or whatever.
And it's funny because in some at some place in our brain, we think that if we have this ideal body that we are taught to think that it's the ideal, if we get it, we think that life will be amazing. Like we won't have any problems. We will live the ideal life. And this is just not true. If you have to sacrifice living to have that body, it's not living anymore, is it?
Because food is life also.
Isn't it? Yeah. Oh.
Literally, but also I love it.
Yeah. We are Greeks. We grew up around food. Like our whole culture is food. So yeah.
True.
Just try proper Greek olive oil. It's that's one thing I miss from Greece. But yeah. And on the topic of food, what is your favorite food, or one of your favorites? The first thing that comes to mind.
First thing that comes to mind is macaroni με κιμά. So like,
yeah,
pasta with minced meats in the not like bolognese, the Greek traditional way. But I'm vegan, so I can no longer give that answer, I think.
I mean, you can always make the minced meat with like soy meat.
But I don't. So like I can, and I've had it once, and it was nice, but I haven't had it in 2 weeks. So I can no longer say that's my favorite food.
Okay, fair enough.
I never eat it. But yeah, I struggled a lot with that question. I don't know. I mean, because there's days when I have a salad and I'm like, oh my god, the salad is so good, and I don't. And then the day after that, I'll be like, salad, ew, no, I want something fatty and
richer.
Like,
yeah. And it's. Actually, let's leave it there, because I love this answer. It's about the experience. It's not about necessarily the nutritional or energy value of the food. It's more like the flavor or I remember you saying one day, I just want something fresh. You didn't say I want something light or something, fatty. You said I want something fresh. And I thought, such a great way to refer to the experience of having a nice salad with like all this, with everything that a salad has. It's not like leaves.
No, but like for me, in my mind, a fresh thing could be a salad with smoked salmon. That's not low in calories, or sushi is not low in calories necessarily. So like it's about it being cold, or like there is days in the Greek summer when I couldn't have anything better than just some cold like tomatoes with olive oil, and that's it. Like
I can definitely relate to that. And one last question, what is your favorite type of exercise?
It's any type of exercise that I don't do to like where the exercise is not the goal. So like, do you get what I mean? So I put it I would say aerial acrobatics, because I don't feel like it is a workout. Definitely it's very hard, but I don't do it for the workout. I do it
because it's fun.
Enjoy it. I love it. I have fun, and that's with any, like, even like team sports, stuff like that I don't do. But I remember loving doing them because I was just having fun. I didn't realize I was working out.
And you do it for the experience, not because you want to lose weight or because you have to do a workout or for any other reason, but purely because it's enjoyable. It's what we say, it's intrinsic motivation that you have to do that. And that's a great answer. I think we've covered a lot of things. I think we could probably continue talking about these things for hours and
so much more.
I mean, you can come again in the podcast. I would love to have you again. I had so much fun talking about it. Thank you so much for being here. And actually, when I was...
Thank you very much for having me.
Actually, when I first came up with the idea of having a podcast to talk about these issues, you were the first person that I wanted to have, because I really enjoy the way you like phrase things, and the way how careful you are in like, or you're trying to say the right words, and yeah, and
It's
how
tough.
much you
I
how
mean,
much you have to say about it, um how educated you are, and how many things you've learned. And yeah, I'm just so happy you were here.
thank you for saying that and for appreciating my effort. I also have a lot to learn, I'm sure, and
We
I
all.
have a lot of work to do with myself first
Mm-hmm.
and foremost. But yeah,
Yes,
it's
such
always
an
nice to
important
talk about.
message as well. Like, because we are on a podcast and we talk about these things, doesn't mean that we have everything figured out. It's always a work in process, and it's very important to say that and like own up to it, because people think that unless you're perfect, you have nothing to say. But we do. We're not perfect, but I feel we do have something to contribute. So
And
yeah.
no one is perfect and no one will ever be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that.
Yep.
Perfection is not a thing. Like you might achieve what perfection means to you for a second in time, but it's not a state that you can live in.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you for
impossible.
saying that. I definitely struggle with this all the time. So yeah, I try to constantly remind myself that whatever you do, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, just keep improving, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
named my channel Project Progress, my YouTube channel, because I want it to be a constant reminder that it's not the perfection we're after, it's progress.
And just a point there, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
last thing. Even not making progress and not moving at times is important and is necessary. Like we don't necessarily need to be improving constantly.
Yeah, we
There's
need
gonna be
our.
times that you need to like retreat, sit still, do nothing. If you feel like that's what you need, that's what you
Also
should
very
do.
important, yeah, because we live in a society now that productivity is everything.
Hmm.
So yeah, there are times that we need this break, and maybe it's a long break, maybe it's a short break, but we shouldn't feel guilty about just laying back. And
Listen to your body and yourself and try to be aware of your own needs primarily, and then also try to communicate to others if you feel like you need to, but just like pay attention to yourself.
I think that's a nice way to um, finish up. Thank you for being here again for the 100th time. And thank you everyone who joined us today. If you think that this conversation would be beneficial to someone else, please share it with them. I don't know how they do the social media stuff. Subscribe, like, all the nice things. If you want to support the podcast, it really helps the channel and the podcast. Something?
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
I feel like it's also important because this is a very sensitive issue that we're dealing with and we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's also important to give some space for feedback in like
Yes.
the comments section or whatever, in terms of like, did we say something that you find offensive? Did we say something that you found triggering? Would you like to change, I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah.
something?
And that's exactly why I wanted Danae to be the first guest here, just because this thing that you said now, it's so important. And we always welcome feedback and constructive criticism. So please
We're
do,
always learning to. Yeah.
yeah, please do. If you have some thoughts, let us know. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for being here, Danae.
Thank you, Vas.
Bye.
Bye.